Welcome to Shooting It Straight with Stan. I'm your host, Stan, the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent, licensed in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, the founder of CGO, Contractual Guarantees Only, where we only look at the contractual guarantees of the policy. Life insurance companies issue annuities. They're contracts, so we only look at the contractual guarantees. Pretty simple, but not many people do that. We do that, and we are very proud of that. So when you talk to us, we're only going to talk about what's going to happen in the policy. Today's topic's a little different, and it comes from just a lot of conversations I've been having recently and where people are fixated for some reason. And the topic is, don't let the IRS live in your head rent-free. I'm going to pause there because I want you to think about it. I would say at this point, I don't know the percentage, I'm saying 20 to 30% of my calls that I'm on, people are fixated with how much they're going to pay in taxes. They're fixated with the IRS rules. They're fixated with what might happen in the future. Now, I understand the concern, and I understand that we all want to pay taxes. That's the patriotic thing to do, but we want to pay as the least amount of taxes as we can legally. But what I'm seeing is a complete obsession to the wrong side. I mean, it's just going too far where people are scrimping and saving and doing without and not traveling and not living life in order to not pay more taxes, in order to not go into that tax bracket where they don't want to go and they pay a little bit more. And they live their life doing that. And if that's you, I need you to listen to me because you need to stop. Let me give you the reality of the story when it comes to taxation and the IRS. And you know this, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. We're now at $39 trillion and counting in debt. We have almost $1 trillion in interest that has to be paid to service that debt. There's a lot of people that say 39 is just the tip of the iceberg. It's more like 100 trillion when you add it all up. Regardless, what I'm trying to get to is if you think taxes are high now, you've seen nothing. They're going to be higher. I don't know if you've seen recent news articles. I think Seattle has a millionaire tax. They're going to, it's an extra 9%. We all know California has a very high tax. We all know that people from that live in New York are getting taxed, and I know that the governor is now wanting them to come back to New York after running them off with the high taxes. I'm not political. I'm contractual. I only look at contractual guarantees. Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, I could care less. Okay, and you should too. By the way, and the reason I say that is think of the dumbest person you've ever met in your life. A person that was so dumb and annoying that when they spoke, you lost IQ points just listening to them. We all know that person. Guess what? That person's vote just nullified yours. Okay? But I don't want you to be running spreadsheets and trying to make sure, well, we're not going to go on that trip, and we're not going to go out to that really nice restaurant, and we're not going to spend money like we should because we got to stay in this tax bracket, Martha. And trust me, Martha's calling BS on that. She is. My wife would call BS on that. Does she like paying taxes? No. But she likes going to see the grandkids and the kids and traveling, buying nice shoes. Somehow, the IRS forces too many people to make bad decisions. Let me give you an example. I'm not against Roth IRAs at all. If you have one, great. Would I do with that and convert to a Roth? No, I would not. Just because I do not trust the government to change the rules. Now, I'm sure they'd grandfather you in and it's all good. But I remember when they said, we're never going to tax Social Security. I remember that. Remember that? Yeah, guess what? They're taxing it. It would not surprise me if they changed the rules on Roth IRAs and said, well, yeah, it's still tax-free, but only for these three things. They've got to find the revenue somewhere. There's over 20% of the households in the country that have Roth IRAs. That's not a huge voting block, but it's enough people that they can go confiscate or figure out a way to tax that money. I read a story today where people that are leaving high-tax states for low-tax states, the high-tax states are trying to figure out a way to claw back some of that money and tax you for moving, kind of like a moving tax. You say, well, Stan, this is all crazy. This can't continue. Yes, it can. I said a long time ago when I was with Dean Witter, so you know how long that was, there was going to be a fork in the road moment with this country that more people that didn't have any money would vote for the people's money that did have money. And right now, over 50% of the people, the public, their net worth is in their right front pocket of their jeans. They've tried whatever, it just hadn't worked. 60% or more of senior citizens have less than $10,000 to their name. We've already seen some politicians say, we need to tax the rich. Their definition of rich is starting to get lower and lower and lower to include you and me. They're even floating things like unrealized capital gains taxes. Hey, Stan, what is that? That means like if you bought your house for $100,000 30 years ago and it's now worth $900,000 for whatever reason, they're floating the idea of taxing those gains even though you haven't sold it. That kind of happens now with farmers and big farmers in Iowa and those types of states. Nebraska, they have to sell their farm and ranch to pay the taxes. I'm going in this huge circle to put some foundation in place to encourage you to not have the IRS live in your head rent-free. People say, well, I'm going to do Roth. I'm going to convert everything to Roth, and it's all going to be taxable. Okay, great. Have you factored in how much front-end taxes you're paying and how long it's going to take to make up for all the taxes you paid on the front end if they don't change the rules? Have you factored that in? Have you run that number? I hope you have, because don't just sit there and go, well, I'm going to convert it, then it's all going to be tax-free. All right, Chester, but what was the number? What's that calculation? How long is it going to take to break even? If it's a legacy play, I get it. But the point is, have you run that number? Are you making decisions in your life based upon taxes? People always say to me, Stan, should I buy a QLAC, qualified longevity annuity contract, because that $210,000 time of the taping, that's the limit. And that's going to go up. But that amount is not used to calculate your required minimum distribution. So there's a potential there, Stan, for me to pay less in taxes. Got a call the other day, said, should I buy a QLAC for the tax savings? Here's my answer. Do you need income ever? Guy said, no, I don't. Then you don't need to buy a QLAC. I mean, QLACs are lifetime income pension products. And yes, they do have a tax part of it that you can save potential tax savings on your RMDs. Give you an example. If you had a $500,000 IRA, you could buy a $210,000 QLAC, and when you go take RMDs, you're only taking it on the $290. 500 minus 210 is $290. But do you need income? If the answer is no, then you don't need a QLAC. QLACs are great. You should buy a QLAC to attach your spouse for lifetime income. You should buy it when you need lifetime income or more income to live chapter 2 of your life. But the lead should not be saving taxes. Okay? Now, there are some ways to legitimately have tax-free income. AAA municipal bonds, federally tax exempt. That's great. That's fantastic. Good luck finding them. Back in the day when I was at Morgan Stanley managing those with my partners, you could find them. But now that, I don't even think they go to market anymore. The hedge funds and the private equity groups just buy it all up. Yes, you can put a lifetime income stream annuity inside of a Roth IRA, and that's tax-free income. But once again, what's the break-even point of all the taxes that you've paid? People bring up all the time IRMA and all these new things that the government's coming. I'm not going to go through all the details of IRMA and that tax and the qualifications and where you need to be. But if that's consuming your life, you need to check your life. My new saying is, eventually, we're going to all go full circle. We're going to end up drooling on ourselves and crapping our pants. Right, Zeke? Okay, Zeke, we don't need that to happen now. But the point is, we're eventually going to get there. So why not enjoy your money now? Why not enjoy your money now? Are tax rates going up? You bet your butt they are. They're going up. And there's nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing that I can do about it. There's not enough voters that can do something about it. Eventually, somebody's going to figure out, when they stand up on that stump and call you and me the evil rich, it's going to be a winner for them politically. And they're coming for it. And you say, well, that's not fair, Stan. Life's not fair. Life's not fair. IRS is not fair. Tax rates aren't fair. Politicians aren't fair. Okay. So those are the cards that's been dealt. What are we going to do about it? We're going to go live our life. We're going to put guarantees in place to go live our life. We're going to put guarantees in place for our spouse and our beneficiaries so we can go live our life. Are we going to get obsessed with the stock market? No. Are we going to get obsessed with taxes? No. Now, is it fair that big corporations and billionaires and whatever have law firms that figure out how they don't pay taxes? I don't know. Probably not, but they're paying a lot to the lawyers. They got to pay somebody. Do annuities have some good tax provisions inside of them? Yeah. If you use a non-IRA account and you buy MIGAs, that interest that you're going to earn contractually is going to grow and compound tax deferred. If you buy within a non-IRA, an immediate annuity, a vast majority of that income is going to be not taxable because you're getting your return of principal plus interest. The interest is taxable. The return of principal isn't in a non-IRA setting. I mean, that's good, right? My wife says it the best. She said we all have scars of scarcity. And scars of scarcity means that we all remember when we didn't have money and when we were panicking that we didn't have money. And we've got to remember, a lot of people in this country, that's where they're at now. Bless their hearts. Seriously. My heart goes out to them. We all have those scars of scarcity. I had a client the other day, his name's Jamie, and he said, we kind of need to learn how to spend again, him and his wife, because they had made all this money in their business and they still lived like paupers. They still lived like they didn't have a dime. I know what you're saying. Well, Stan Warren Buffett still lives in the same house in Omaha, Nebraska. Whatever. Don't care. I'm assuming he lives pretty well, but he eats a hamburger every day, whatever. He's happy with that. If you're happy with that, fine. But I'd check with your spouse to see if they're still happy scrimping and saving, or are they just going along with it? I'll give you an example. And this is a personal one. My father passed away 7 years ago. If you ever read the book The Great Santini by Pat Conroy or saw that movie, that's my dad. He was a tough dude, okay? My mom was the compliant Southerner wife. Did whatever he wanted, went wherever he wanted, ate at whatever cheap-ass restaurant they wanted. He died 7 years ago, and I looked at my mom. I got her set up, where everything's kind of turnkey. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, I've looked at the money. You can spend $250 a day, okay, every day. And if you don't spend $250 today, it rolls to the next day. So if you don't spend any today, then tomorrow you got to spend $500. You'll never run out of money. And for the first year, I don't think she believed me. And then she calls me a year later and she goes, Stan, the accounts are up. We just have them in CDs and they're up. And I said, Mom, you got to spend more money. So what is my mom doing now? She's doing what I want you to do. She's 86. Okay, she walks 6 miles a day. This year, she's been to New York, Hawaii, Chicago, Cuba, and some other place. My dad would never do that. My mom goes to ethnic restaurants. Let's just put it like that. My dad would never do that. My mom has a mojito every now and again. My dad would never do that. My mom's not letting the IRS live in her head rent free. Yeah, she calls me. I can't believe the tax. Shut up, Mom. Respectfully, go live your life. And I'm trying to do that with myself, okay? I'm trying to do that with my family and my wife. My wife's probably saying, you're not doing enough. Okay, that's fine, but I am trying, all right? It's funny, and I'll kind of close with this. I've been doing this a very long time, and I find myself with these videos talking to myself a little bit and talking to you and making sure that you're listening to me and realizing that a lot of you, as I always say, you've won the game. So why are you still playing? Or to really get you, there's no U-Hauls behind hearses. Or you fly first class or your kids will. But you've already won the game. You've already threaded the needle. You've already scrimped and saved. You've already made it. Enjoy it. You can't take it with you. The IRS is going to be the IRS. They're going to tax us. They're coming. There's nothing we can do. Just do the best you can. Pay your taxes. Be a good patriot, a good citizen. But go live your life. Go live your life. I'll close with one thing. If you're going to get tax advice, get it from someone who's gotten their certification to give you that advice. That would be a CFP if they've passed specific things. That would be a CPA, and that would be a tax lawyer. Agents, advisors, RIAs, brokers should not give tax advice, and they can't legally give tax advice, and they're on the hook if they give tax advice. So if you really want to go down that rabbit hole and make sure you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's, hire someone who's qualified to give the tax advice and understands tax law and will sign off on your return so you don't get in trouble. All right? So do not let the IRS live in your head rent free, and you know what I'm talking about. My name is Stan the Annuity Man. That's Shooting It Straight with Stan.